to Gray Magnolias. I didn't think I'd make another video again so soon, but I didn't tell you about the series that I finished a minute ago now. It's been roughly like a week or two maybe. So I became hyper fixated on Mercedes Lackey and like anything and everything that she wrote. And I did my research. She's written so much. So she writes fantasy, women's fantasy. I can't say it's high fantasy. Like, I don't know, since I'm quite new to the genre. Like the series that I read was, I comprehended it. Like, it wasn't super extensive. It wasn't like multi-layered. So yeah, so I tried a couple books of hers. There's this one series that she has that I don't think it's like consecutive, but it's like in the same realm where she reimagines fairy tales. I'll post a picture here of one I mentioned before. And then after I finished this, I did try to read another one of hers, Fairy Godmother, which it was written well, and like, again, there's nothing wrong with it per se. I don't remember how far I got into it, called Fairy Godmother. I'll insert a picture here, but I DNF'd it for now because I was just like not in the mood at the time. I don't know if that's because like I couldn't find the audio version for it like available for free to me to like use on one of the many platforms that I use. I most definitely am planning to make a video of how to read on a budget, because I think being a reader is one of the more expensive hobbies, and I have many hobbies. So I would want to share all my tips and tricks of how I'm able to get my hands on books, on how, it was really funny, like when I really was like building my library, it was like middle of the year last year, and my husband was like, yeah, you know how much you've spent? I was like, what? Like, what do you mean? And we did like a super rough estimate, and I spent last year about like $800 by like the middle of last year. Mind you, that is like literally $1 a book, because I had at the time like a little bit under 1,000 books, like 850, 900-ish or so. So if you want to girl math it, I would say that's pretty good in my opinion. I have not, even when I went to, and this, of course this video is already going off topic, even when I went to Barnes and Nobles in my area, because it was like closing down to move to another location and they were doing a sale, even then I didn't pay for a full price new book. It was on sale. So that video is coming soon, most definitely, because there's so many resources out there that is just kind of like, yes, I want to own every book, but I have to be, a little realistic with lack of space, and just kind of like why, really understanding like why do I need every book. So anyways, expect that video soon. I might even film it after this. So yeah, I have a cup of tea, and I wrote out kind of like a script. Like, I was gonna post it on Reddit, but then I was just like, nah, I don't feel like doing that. So my biggest thing entering the fantasy realm, romantasy realm, I can't even consider this like a romantasy, because I feel like I haven't read that yet in all the like short list of fantasy that I read. But as I'm getting like suggested more videos, or like I follow now the fantasy romantasy page on Reddit, I am sick and tired of seeing the same 5 books. It is like the most infuriating thing, and like I'm determined. I'm like dabbling into it. I don't even know if I could read enough to be like, hey, read all of this and not this type of situation. But it's just like, it's just the same same 5 books over and over and over again. And it's just like I'm scrolling and, like Instagram recommends, like, people's pages to you and stuff like that. And a lot of them are story, like bookstagrammers and such. And they're like, oh, these books I would give my life to read again. Or like, if you love fantasy, you're gonna love these. And it's just like Sarah J. Maas, Rebecca Yarros, Cassandra Clare, which I read a book of hers, like she's not bad. Daughter of No Worlds or whatever. It's just like over and over. And like even the other books that I can't think off the top of my head are like the same shit. Like a coaster here that is unstable. And it's just like, it drives me nuts. It drives me nuts. And it's just kind of like, there's so many other things out there, that are better. Like, and I haven't read them, but I've watched enough like rage rants about them that I know, like knowing what I like to read and all that stuff, that they're, for example, like in my last video, the book I DNF'd by a favorite author of mine for reasons of just kind of like immaturity, repetition, kind of like where's the story going, that like things not making sense. Like, yeah, I could not. Anywho, I'm gonna get to now. So this is my first recommendation of like something that is not any of those. So my first set of books that I read by Mercedes Lackey all the way through, because I remember I did try 2, and well, 1 I didn't even open. I was just like, I don't want to read anything like that, so I moved on. I read, and I'll put pictures here, her covers, all of them are just like stunning. Not her newer stuff, I don't care for, but her older stuff, like that style of cover, like seriously needs to come back. That's probably another video in the future. I would love to discuss covers and just kind of like, and I'm not even talking about misleading, I just like feel like some are kind of lacking imagination. That's just me. Oh, my mug for today, one of my favorites. Okay, so I read the Valdemar series. It's a long series, but I read the first trilogy, like the first part, the trilogy, the original, and then she expanded on the world, which I probably would get into because it follows other characters from what I read. So it's called Valdemar Herald. It's called from the Valdemar world. It's called Heralds of Valdemar by Mercedes Lackey. We have Arrows of the Queen, we have Arrows Flight, and we have Arrows Fall. So I wrote this is kind of scripty, so bear with me. Out of the short list of fantasies I've read, it's one of the best women's fantasies books I've read in my short history of this new era of mine. It's a coming of age story of a young girl who's dealt a heavy hand, living in kind of like the outskirts of this world where they're really closed off from everything. Men have multiple women are expected to, either you become the main wife or the lesser wife and you just raise children, and like that's it. So in the first book, she's 13, Talia, that's her main female character, and she is brought into kind of like the gathering room where all her mothers are. And now that she's 13, it's like, hey, it's time to get married. And she's like freaking out. Like that's like the last thing she wants. She's always caught up in reading her adventure books and just daydreaming of a life outside of where she is, which at this moment I didn't write down, but it's like the outskirts. It's like the boondies, and they're very isolated community, very archaic ways. Like women are nothing. They can't be anything else but, a theme I loved throughout this whole series was like the equality, the open acceptance of LGBTQ plus, mainly just the first part of LGBTQ. There's no kind of like anything else mentioned, but it's kind of like queer positive, sex positive, kind of like just this very expressive openness that was very refreshing and like no judgment type of situation. So, so yeah, I'm gonna try my best not to give any spoilers. But she, you know, in a fit of a kind of like, no, I don't want to do this, and they're like, oh, okay, do you want to be a nun? Like, we didn't know that was your calling. And she's like, oh God, no, that'd be even worse. And so she like runs away, and then she kind of has like this illusion dream of just like, oh, what if a companion finds me? Which a companion, like, what her dream is to become a herald, which a herald is a group, like a military group in this world that follows the queen. And they have companions, which are horses. So if you're a horse, girl or boy, they, them, or whatever, you would love this book. A lot of horseness in here. I really, really like that. I'm not like a horse girl, but I do enjoy like horses, and it was like really beautiful. Like Mercedes Lackey really embodied that crazy bond people have with horses. If you own a horse, of like this connection, this healing power that horses have. I think she really did a really good job of, you know, capturing it on page. And I listened to this via audio, and the narrator is amazing. She did a really good job of giving everybody their own voice. It wasn't robotic, it was very flowing. So 5 out of 5 stars for that aspect as well. So she like runs off or whatever, and like in this vision dream, a companion comes and picks her, because companions, the horses, have like this own entity. They think, they feel, they have like, there's like magic elements. She kind of spreads out like the whole theory and history of everything throughout the book. I'm not gonna get super into that because I don't want this video to be super long. But she gets picked by Roland, and she's like, first, like the whole part of the book's like, okay, I gotta return this companion. Oh my God, and, you know, and she goes, and they take her to the capital, and she finds out that she was chosen to be the queen's own, which, being the queen's own, is kind of like one of the biggest positions in this world. Is kind of like the queen's right hand, the queen's advisor. She helps rear and raise the heir to said throne. One thing I really liked about the world itself was that, yes, there's king queen type situation, but the queen was picked from the heralds. It's not like a lineage, you know, and then like, okay, you're next in line. It's kind of like this whole like equality and like no one can get too much power type of situation, which is really interesting. And I think so, and also the queen is chosen via like the hair, like the companion system that they have. So it's like the whole first book is like her trial of getting there, getting to school, and kind of like learning how to trust other people in this position. I feel like she's not worthy, so kind of like a lot of that. And she's such a mature character for 13. It's kind of crazy because she went through a lot of like, so I mean, trigger warning for parental abuse, verbal abuse, physical, for book 1, most definitely. So yeah, Mercedes Lackey did a great job of giving a great voice and character. Like even the side characters, I enjoyed all of them. A big theme is found family. Yeah, she does a great job of making you feel the bonds of like the connection and like the growing relationships throughout as she grows up, because she starts off at 13 and by the end of the book she's like 20, 21 or so, 18 at minimum, but like she's like an adult by the last book. And in being the queen's own, she has this own special power that is different than any. So everyone has powers. There's healers, there's seers, so they can kind of like, not like, well, there's some seers that can kind of foresee the future a little bit, but there's also people that can see from a long distance if they focus their energy. And then there's, what's another example? There's fire starter, like, you know, arsonists. Is that what it's called? And then there's people that can pick up and take what's the best way I can describe it right now, because I can't think of the word, where with a seer's help, like someone who can see far away, they can grab something and bring it back to where they are. I don't know how it works, but. And this book was written in like the late 80s, so again, very progressive, like very well written, great characters. I really, really, really enjoyed that. Communication, personality. And each book is only like 12, like they're long chapters, but it's 12 chapters a book, which is really jam-packed. And there's a couple questions I had where I feel like could have been better. I didn't make notes of that. I just like had a few questions about the world itself. I could have missed it because I was listening to audio and maybe distracted doing things at the same time. So book 1, great. I give it a 5 out of 5. So for book 2, she's kind of, after you finish school, you have to go out into the field for like a year with a kind of like a mentor, and like they teach you before you get your white robes as a herald. And there's like conspiracy brewing. Someone is trying to taint the air that she's responsible for, like rearing and kind of like directing, like, hey, you need to get your shit together, because she has like this motherly, ability to learn about kids, because she helped raise a lot of her siblings and stuff, which I kind of could relate to that, because I helped in a sense raise my siblings too, since there were so many of us. So I kind of related to her in that sense. So book 2 is her journey on the road with Chris, her mentor, who is kind of like the heartthrob of the guild, but like he's kind of just like no to everybody. But as it so happens, I'm not trying to spoil anything, their relationship gets very, very deep, really fleshed out, flesh on flesh, you know what I mean? And really beautiful. I loved his character. And Talia starts having issues with the power that she has, which she's an extreme empath, which she can feel other people's emotions, she can project her own emotions, and like, because they don't fully understand what she is, since her power is so different from everyone. So there's a whole thing there, and in that relationship. And then, okay, that's where my notes end. Book 3 was tragic. I like freaking cried my eyes out. I was like, what the heck? Like, absolutely not. There wasn't, fair warning, trigger warning, there was a lot of SA on the main female character, which after reading the reviews was extremely unnecessary and kind of like really brutal, because she is captured by this long-standing enemy, like that they now know is the enemy, and she's tortured. And I think leaving it at just torture would have been suffice to the situation, but it got like, it's on page, so fair warning for that. That's why I rate overall this book much lower than the rest. I give this book like a 3.5 star. Like, I still very much enjoyed, and like I was like on my edge of my seat, and I was like, oh my god, and the deaths and stuff like that. I was like, what the heck? But and like, it wrapped up, and the person she ends up with, like, I'm trying not to spoil anything, is like okay, but like it's hard to accept and believe, because she had such a strong, deeper connection and more time with someone else. But it's not like it wasn't like a love triangle where it was like, oh my god, what the heck, she ended up with the wrong person type situation. You would have to read it to understand. I really don't want to give any more spoilers away. But yeah, overall for the whole series, I give it a 4 star, because like the third book, like that portion was really, really unnecessary. And then a lot of the comments and the reviews, which I agreed with, was like, after all of that happened, how she acted and how she recovered so quickly was kind of like a little unrealistic. But again, that book as well is only 12 chapters. It is a very fast-paced, quick read, and that a lot of time had passed. But again, it's just kind of like, I mean, I've never been in that situation. Do some people recover more quickly than others? She was also being healed with, like, you know, medicinal magic and stuff like that. Did that help her healing process go quickly? I don't know. So yes, if you want something completely different than anything else that everyone else recommends, I highly recommend this series. It is older, but again, I felt like it was very progressive, very modern, very well written, really good side characters. The plot is not too in depth. You kind of like guess it pretty soon. So it's not like, oh my god, what a twist. I was a couple moments was like, oh shit, okay. But yeah, horses, the companions that, you know, some of them you can speak to them, so you kind of hear conversations between them and their herald and all that stuff. And yes, I highly recommend it. Really fun read. I most definitely in the future do anticipate to kind of like read a couple others, like other books within that world in the series. If I know one of them kind of gives a backstory to one of the characters in the book. And yeah, I recommend it. I recommend it. I do. So yeah, let me know down below if you have read it. And your thoughts. And yeah,